Hi children, I have been going through these books trying to figure out which story I should narrate to you today. And I think I've decided that I'm going to tell you a story not from these books, but I'm going to tell you the story of Eidgah. Now this story is about a little boy called Hamid who lives in this village with his grandmother. Unfortunately, Hamid's parents passed away due to sickness and his grandmother rears him up. His grandmother is very poor. She makes money by stitching clothes and she takes care of Hamid. But today is the festival of Eid and it's a huge event in their entire village. All the men of the village and the children, they would all walk to the mosque, which is almost 3 kilometers away. They would render their prayers, and after those prayers would be the biggest treat. There would be a huge mela. You know what a mela is, right? It's like a fete where there are games, there is food, there are toys. It's like a gala event for children. So now this is the biggest temptation for all the children who are accompanying their parents to the Eidgah. Now poor Hamid has no parents and his grandmother is very old. It's not possible for her to walk all these 3 kilometers. But what she has done is, because she earns her money by stitching, she has saved up 3 paisa. Yes, she has saved up 3 paisa. I know today you would not even know what that means because we don't use the paisa anymore. But in those days 3 paisa was a decent amount. She has saved up 3 paisa which she gives to this little boy Hamid and tells him, please eat something at the Mela, once you're returning from the Eidgah. And she hopes that the poor boy will be able to make his way safely and come back safely. Well, he will be going with all the villagers, so in that sense she is hopeful. Now Hamid pockets this 3 paisa and along with the other children of the village, he also starts going towards the Eidgah. They pass beautiful fields and forests and slowly they're coming towards the city. And how do they know that they're coming towards the city? Because now the fields and forests are being replaced by huge gardens, villas, bungalows. They get closer and closer to the city and then they can see the mosque. All of them rush into the mosque where they render their ablutions, then they do their prayers. But once the prayers are over, the festival grounds open. And this is what the children and the elders have been waiting for. They all rush into the fairground. Everyone is aglow with excitement. Many children are already counting all the food that they want to eat, all the rides that they want to go. But Hamid has only 3 paisa. So he wants to save up his money and figure out where he wants to spend it best. And they're walking by the rides and people jump on the roundabouts where they are charged almost 5 paisa for 25 rounds. And Hamid feels, I can't spend my paisa on this. I don't have enough money, and even if I did, who wants to spend money on going round and round 25 times? It's only going to, make your head swim. So he decides to just stand there and watch his friends enjoying the ride. And then they move on, then there are other games. His friends are eagerly playing all the games, enjoying themselves. But Hamid is holding on to the 3 paisa he has because he wants to make sure that he gets the best what he can with that money. And then they come to the food stalls and Hamid's mouth starts watering. There are jalebis, there is samosa, there is sevaiya, there is rabdi, and everyone just rushes and they break loose on the sweet shops. Somebody is buying rabdi, somebody is buying samosas, and Hamid still is holding on to his 3 paisa because he does not want to spend his money on food. You will eat the food and then it vanishes. The money is gone. And he can't spend this hard-earned money of his grandmother on food. And all the other children are eating sweets. Some of them are teasing him. His best friend says, Hamid, come, I will give you a piece of this samosa. And this little boy rushes towards his friend. His friend proffers the samosa and then puts it into his own mouth. Poor Hamid feels very bad. Why are his friends making fun of him like this? I mean, during the other days, they call upon him and ask him to help them and all. Next time they call him to help, he's going to say no. He watches people eating all these foods and he tells himself, I have read in the books When you eat a lot of sweets, it causes blisters and boils in your mouth. It's not good for the health. Good, I'm not eating any sweets. And he moves on. And then comes the toy stores. And all his friends, they look at the toys, they rush to their parents and say, Daddy, buy me this toy, I want that toy. One of his friends picks up a toy of a lawyer who's wearing a black gown with a white shirt, and he is carrying the law book in his hand, and he's looking very elegant and very erudite. And Hamid is like, I wish I had this toy. But the toy costs 3 paise, the entire amount which he has. And he does not want to spend it on this toy made of mud. What will happen if it rains? All that mud will wash away. All the colors will come off. Then what happens to Mr. Lawyer? It's of no use to him then. One of his other friends picks up a police inspector. A police inspector who is wearing khaki with a red turban, and he's holding this gun by his shoulder, and he looks like he's about to catch all the criminals. Hamid really loves this police inspector. But once again, if he spends his money on the police inspector, he will have no money left. So he is still holding on to his money, saying, no, I will not waste my money on these toys made of mud and clay with color. All that will wash off. Then what is the use of having a toy? One of his other friends picks up some other toy. Each one of them is having different colored, beautiful looking toys. And Hamid is so eager, he just wants to touch those toys. But when did children allow their friends to share their toys? If Hamid goes towards them, they pull it back. And Hamid is feeling very sorry for himself that he feels he wants to get a toy, but he cannot spend his money on it. And then, as Hamid walks further, his eyes fall on an ironsmith's shop. And he stops by that ironsmith's shop. The ironsmith tells him, boy, move ahead. These things, they are not for you. But Hamid looks there, and there is a pair of tongs. You know what tongs are? In those days, people used these tongs to turn and flip their rotis and chapatis, which they used to make on their earthen oven. And if you don't have a tong, what will happen? Your hand gets burnt. And Hamid remembered that every time his grandmother made rotis, she burnt her hands on the hot stove. So he thinks, if I buy this pair of tongs and I gift it to grandmother, how happy she will be. And this is made of iron, not clay like those toys, nor is it made of sugar where it will just dissolve in your mouth and then it is gone. This will stay with me for a long time. So like a grown-up, he asks the ironsmith, how much for this pair of tongs? The ironsmith says, 6 paise. And Hamid's heart is in his mouth. He has only 3 paise. But he decides to bluster his way like a grown-up. And he says, I will give you 3 paise. If you want to sell it to me, sell it. And he tries to run away from there. When the ironsmith calls out and says, hey, come back. Here, you can take it. So Hamid pays all the money that he has in exchange for this pair of tongs. He holds the tongs in his hand. It's iron, it's heavy. His friends see him and they laugh. What? You spent your money on a pair of tongs? What are you going to do with it? That's so silly of you. Hamid gets angry. He says, no, I am not silly. You are silly. You want to have a competition? You make your clay toys stand there and I will take my iron tongs. Let's see who will win in a fight. And all his friends get scared. Obviously, the tongs will break their toys in 1 second. And Hamid takes his tongs and he places it on his shoulders. And he starts marching like a guard and says, see, now I'm a real guard. I'm a real policeman. With this tong, I can keep all robbers at bay. And see, I can hold these tongs in my hand and I can even make music with it. My tong is all purpose. Now all his friends start feeling a little twinge of jealousy. I mean, they have their toys, but he has a pair of tongs. And those tongs seem to be taking any shape that he wants. So his friends slowly approach Hamid and say, Hamid, do you want to hold this toy of mine and give me your tongs just for a few seconds? And Hamid is like, no, mine are a pair of iron tongs. Yours is only clay. I don't want your toys. Another of his friends comes and says, Hamid, my father got me bananas. Here, you can have one banana if you let me play with your tongs for a few seconds. Hamid says, all right, you can play with it for a few seconds till I finish eating this banana. And Hamid gets a banana to eat. and they are all making their way back to the village. It's almost afternoon time, people are tired, they want to go back home and have their food. Hamid has bought this pair of tongs and all his friends are so jealous. Now, what happens when they reach the village? The boy who got this lawyer toy, he goes home and he places it on a pedestal where he makes a very nice cover for it. He places his toy over that, but one day it falls and it breaks. And the person who got the inspector toy, his little brother snatches it from him, it falls to the ground, and the poor inspector is rendered to dust. But Hamid marches home with his iron tongs, and his grandmother shouts, "So, what did you do at the fair? What have you got? Did you eat something?" He says, "No, grandma, but I got this pair of tongs." And his grandmother is like, "Fool, I give you only 3 paise and you have to spend it on this tongs? Why did you do that? You have not eaten anything since morning." He says, "Grandma, when you are making chapatis, your hands always get burned. Now see, with this pair of tongs, your hands will never get burned. And even if someone comes to borrow from us some coal, you can happily lift it with these tongs and give it to them. So I thought that if we have the tongs, it can serve us for a long time. I didn't want your fingers to get burned, grandma." And his grandmother starts weeping. Suddenly the roles are reversed. Hamid, the little boy, has become the elder, and his old grandmother has become a baby. She's crying when she thinks about the kind of sacrificial feeling this boy had, that he decided to spend his money on buying something which would benefit her and did not spend it on food and toys, etc. So I hope you love the story.